Welcome to this deep dive. This is tailored specifically for you as a product manager at SEEBURGER, really getting into the weeds of SaaS-to-SaaS integration.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today, our mission is pretty clear, isn't it? We want to unpack let's say, the complexities and also the huge opportunities in getting these SaaS applications talking to each other seamlessly.
Exactly. And we're looking at some recent industry insights, projections, and also an article that really breaks down the challenges and solutions you probably deal with every day.
Think of this as maybe your personalized guide, understanding the current landscape, the common hurdles, and what really matters for effective integration. All stuff that's directly relevant to your work, your strategy at SEEBURGER.
It's kind of striking, isn't it, how much we all rely on this whole web of SaaS tools now.
It really is. And that smooth data flow, it's not just nice to have anymore. It feels absolutely essential.
Fundamentally essential. And what's really compelling, I think, from the material is just the speed of this change.
You mean the market growth?
Yeah, exactly. McKinsey's projecting the global SaaS market hitting, $10 trillion by 2030? That's up from $3 trillion just back in 2022.
Wow, that's massive growth.
It's huge. And it's not just overall growth. We're seeing a big surge in collaborative platforms and also those industry-specific SaaS tools.
So for someone in your role at SEEBURGER, that points towards a big demand for connectors, for integration capabilities in those specific areas, right?
Precisely. Because without a really scalable and flexible integration strategy, companies just end up with data all over the place. Data silos.
Yeah, fractured data. And overwhelmed IT teams too, I bet.
Totally, IT bottlenecks. And then there's the whole struggle of connecting the new stuff, the SaaS, with, the older legacy systems.
Right. It really highlights why the solutions you're developing are so important.
It does.
Okay, so building on that huge market growth, what's really driving this intense need for all these SaaS apps to play nicely together?
Well, a huge part of it is just the sheer amount of data being created. It's staggering.
The data explosion, yeah. I saw a projection something like 175 zettabytes globally by 2025.
That's the one. Almost hard to even picture that number. It was, 33 zettabytes in 2018? A massive jump.
So organizations aren't just dealing with more apps, they're dealing with exponentially more data flowing between them.
Exactly. And it's not just the volume, right? It's about being able to actually manage that flood of data and crucially pull out valuable insights from it.
So you need data management solutions that can scale, obviously, but also ones that can help make sense of it all, turn raw data into something actionable.
Yeah, and at the same time, you've got this surge in unstructured data, which throws up big governance challenges. Keeping track of it, ensuring compliance, it gets complicated fast.
Okay, and that ties into the Horizon X findings, doesn't it? They showed a real link between having solid data governance and, better business results.
Exactly right. Horizon X found that companies with scalable data governance models actually see measurable improvements. Better data accuracy, better compliance, and better overall business performance.
So good governance isn't just a check-the-box thing. It actually impacts the bottom line.
It absolutely does. These models provide that essential framework for data integrity, for usability across all those integrated systems.
And then there's that Gartner prediction about edge computing.
Oh, yeah, that's another big piece. Gartner predicting 20% of large enterprises will deploy edge management and orchestration solutions by 2027.
Which is a huge leap from less than 1% just a few years back.
It really underscores the urgency, Businesses have to adapt their data strategies and fast to handle all this data efficiently, securely, especially data coming from the edge.
So if you don't get integration and governance right, what are the risks?
Well, the risks are pretty clear. You're looking at increased compliance headaches, potential breaches, and just a significant drag on how efficiently the business operates. Things slow down.
Okay, so the why, the need for integration is crystal clear. Let's maybe dig into the how, or rather the why it's hard. What are those common roadblocks companies hit? Siloed data seems like a big one.
Oh, it's a classic, a huge pain point. Think about maybe Salesforce running over here and Zendesk running over there, completely separate.
Right. Both holding valuable customer info, but not sharing it.
Exactly. Trapped in departmental silos. And the result? Well, your customer support team doesn't see what sales is doing, and sales doesn't have the full support history. They lack that, 360-degree customer view.
Which makes it really hard to give good service or make informed decisions. Like trying to solve a puzzle with half of the pieces missing.
Precisely. It's a major challenge.
Okay, what's another big one? You mentioned IT bottlenecks earlier. I think we can all relate to that one.
Yeah, definitely. IT departments often just get swamped, a constant flood of requests to connect this system to that system.
Just keeping the lights on, integration-wise.
Right. And that backlog doesn't just mean projects get delayed. It actually, stifles innovation.
How?
Well, if the business side always has to wait for specialized IT folks for every little integration tweak, it just slows everything down. Time to market for new ideas gets longer, opportunities might get missed. The business can't be as agile.
Got it. So the reliance on IT becomes a blocker, and then the legacy systems problem. That sounds like another layer of complexity.
It really is. A lot of the, let's call them traditional integration platforms, they often require pretty heavy coding skills.
Right. Not exactly user-friendly for, say, someone in marketing or sales.
Exactly. So those non-technical users can't easily manage their own integrations. They become dependent on IT again, which reinforces that bottleneck. And it stops those teams from quickly setting up integrations for their immediate needs, as things change.
Okay, challenges understood. Silos, bottlenecks, legacy complexity. So turning this around, what are the absolute must-haves for effective SaaS integration? What should someone in your position building these tools really focus on?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think the big principle is finding that balance. Solutions need to be really powerful, but also really accessible to lots of different users, not just the tech gurus.
So powerful and usable. What's the first key element then?
Ease of use has to be number one. It's all about empowering those business users, the ones who are actually closest to the data and the processes.
That makes total sense. Like your example earlier, a marketer connecting MailChimp and HubSpot without needing an IT project request. That's powerful.
That's the goal. You need intuitive interfaces, maybe guided workflows, things that let non-technical folks set up and manage integrations themselves.
And confidently, too, ensuring accuracy and just speeding the whole thing up.
Exactly. Put the connection power in the hands of the people who understand the business need best.
Okay, ease of use is critical. What's next? Flexibility and scalability feel like they'd be high on the list, given how fast things change.
Oh, absolutely non-negotiable. An integration platform has to be adaptable. It needs to support a really wide range of SaaS apps. CRM like Zoho CRM, help desks like Freshdesk, everything in between.
And not just SaaS-to-SaaS, right?
Yeah.
What about connecting to older on-premise systems?
Yeah.
Hybrid setups are still common.
Crucial point. Seamless connection with on-prem systems is vital for that hybrid cloud support. And then there's scalability. As data grows, as workflows get more complex, the platform just has to handle it without, falling over or slowing down.
And being cloud native helps there, presumably.
Hugely. A cloud-native platform is built for the cloud from day one. That usually means inherent scalability, better resilience, and often lets you develop and deploy integrations faster. All really important for handling dynamic SaaS environments.
Makes sense. Then there's the scope of integration. It sounds like it's not just if you can connect, but how easily you can connect.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. How efficiently can you do it? And a big part of that becoming best practice really is having pre-built connectors.
For the big players, Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Those ready-made connections save a ton of custom development time. They dramatically shorten the time it takes to get value from a new integration.
But you can't have pre-built connectors for everything. What about unique needs?
Good point. So alongside those pre-built options, you absolutely need strong custom integration capabilities too. For those really specific tailored workflows or unique business processes that need a custom touch, you need both.
Got it. Pre-built for speed, custom for flexibility. And then the elephant in the room, security and compliance. Can't ignore that.
Absolutely not. It has to be baked in from the very beginning. We're talking about huge volumes of data, often sensitive data, moving between systems. Security is paramount.
So what does that look like in practice? Encryption.
Definitely. End-to-end encryption is table stakes. Data needs protection both when it's moving, in transit, and when it's stored at rest.
And compliance standards. GDPR, ISO.
Yes, adherence to standards like GDPR, ISO 27001 is critical. Plus, you need features like detailed audit trails so you can see who did what and when. And things like role-based access controls are vital for good data governance and traceability, making sure only the right people can access or change things.
Okay, that gives us a really solid picture of the challenges and the key requirements.
Okay.
How does this relate specifically to SEEBURGER's approach? How are you tackling these demands?
Well, what's relevant for you is how SEEBURGER is positioned. It's a cloud-native IPS vendor that's integration platform as a service, and it's really architected specifically to handle these future integration needs we've been discussing.
And a key part of that is the integrator workspace, right?
Right.
I understand it's a cloud-based design environment with a low-code interface.
Exactly. That low-code aspect directly tackles the ease of use requirement we talked about.
So the idea is to empower more users, not just the hardcore developers.
Precisely. The integrator workspace is designed so that both technical folks and business users, or maybe citizen integrators, can actually design, manage, and maintain their own integration flows independently.
Which should, in theory, break those IT bottlenecks we mentioned earlier.
That's the goal. It's a big shift from always relying on central IT. It frees up those IT resources for more complex tasks and avoids those frustrating delays.
And it leverages things like pre-built connectors, too.
Yes, absolutely. There are pre-built connectors for major SaaS apps, plus a whole library of other integration assets, things for B2B integration, EDI, MFT for secure file transfer, APIs, even predefined process flows. It's built to handle simple stuff and complex workflows, too.
Okay, let's make this more concrete. The material had an example, integrating Microsoft Dynamics 365 with Marketo. That sounds like a common B2B marketing scenario.
It really is, and it's a great example to show how seamless integration can automate and streamline things. B2B marketers often wrestle with integrating lots of different tools.
Like what? Syncing lead data between the CRM and marketing automation.
Exactly. Syncing leads, tracking campaign results across platforms, automating lead nurturing. It gets messy and super time-consuming if the tools don't talk to each other properly. You need those good integration capabilities.
So let's peek inside the integrator workspace itself. It's described as a unified platform, a single place to manage the whole data flow lifecycle.
That's the core concept. A single experience for everything. Designing the flow, orchestrating how it runs, the actual execution, and then monitoring it afterwards. It simplifies the whole process.
And within that, there's this idea of projects for organizing things.
Yeah, projects are basically containers to keep all your related integration assets together logically. Your process flows, data maps, the connectors you're using, maybe sample data for testing, account credentials, all organized.
So you might have a marketing project with flows for syncing leads and sales reports, separate from an HR analytics project or an order management project.
Exactly. It keeps things tidy and manageable, especially as the number of integrations grows.
And you mentioned an integration asset catalog. Sounds like a library of reusable parts.
That's precisely what it is. It's full of reusable, often customizable components, connectors, APIs, data mappings, even entire package processes and configurations.
The goal being speed, right?
Yeah.
Reuse components instead of building from scratch every time.
Absolutely. It dramatically accelerates time to market for new integrations. And because these assets can be shared and adapted, it further reduces that reliance on custom coding and lets teams respond faster to business needs.
Okay, now the process flow designer. This is where the low-code approach really shines, I imagine.
It really is. It's designed to be intuitive, graphical. You can build and manage pretty sophisticated integration workflows without needing to be a deep coding expert.
So back to the Dynamics 365 and Marketo example.
Yeah.
How would that look in the designer?
You'd visually configure it. So step one, connect to Dynamics 365. You'd configure the connection details, specify you're working with the contact object, set how often it should check for updates, pick the data fields you want to sync.
Like name, email, company, maybe lead status.
Exactly. And you can even set conditions like only sync contacts where lead status equals X, then the flow branches.
Okay.
Maybe step two, check if that contact already exists as a lead in Marketo based on email address.
Right.
If no match is found, step three, create a new lead in Marketo using the data from Dynamics.
And if a match is found?
Then step four, update the existing lead in Marketo with the latest info from Dynamics. It's all visualized step by step, much easier to understand and manage than lines of code for many users.
That visual approach makes sense. What about handling data formats? If Dynamics structures data differently than Marketo?
That's where the graphical mapping designer comes in. It lets you visually map fields from the source system, Dynamics, to the target system, Marketo, and define transformations if needed.
So you can make sure, say, a date format is converted correctly, or maybe combine first name and last name fields?
Precisely. It ensures that data conversion is accurate. And while it's graphical for really complex transformations, there's also access to the underlying BIS mapping language, which uses standards like XPath and XQuery for more power.
Good to have that flexibility. And finally, testing. You can test this as you build.
Yes, absolutely critical. You can test individual steps in your flow, or you can run a test of the entire end-to-end flow at any time during development.
So you can catch errors early before deploying.
Exactly. The recommendation is always to do a full check before you push any integration live. It's just good practice, ensures reliability.
It was interesting to see this framed as the first in a series of discussions on modern integration, and there was a mention of a product update coming later in 2025.
Yeah, that suggests, an ongoing commitment from SEEBURGER to keep innovating in this space, enhancing the platform to meet these evolving challenges. It's a fast-moving area.
Definitely. Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. We covered a lot of ground.
We have.
We talked about just how crucial seamless SaaS-to-SaaS integration is becoming, really driven by that massive SaaS market growth and the incredible explosion in data volumes.
Right. And the common problems that get in the way. Those data silos keeping information locked up, IT departments becoming bottlenecks, and the sheer difficulty of dealing with older legacy systems.
Then we looked at what makes an effective integration solution today. Key things like ease of use, making it accessible beyond just IT.
Flexibility and scalability to handle growth in diverse applications, both cloud and on-prem.
Having the right integration scope, meaning both pre-built connectors for speed and custom capabilities for specific needs.
And underpinning it all, robust security and compliance features, non-negotiable.
And we saw how SEEBURGER, particularly with the integrated workspace, is really focusing on hitting those marks, providing a cloud-native platform designed to empower users, simplify integration, and overcome those common hurdles.
Exactly. It's about providing those intuitive tools and the rich functionality needed in this complex landscape.
So for you, listening as a product manager at SEEBURGER, you're right in the middle of shaping these solutions. We really hope this deep dive has given you some useful context, maybe some fresh perspectives on the challenges and the significant opportunities in SaaS integration.
Yeah, maybe it leaves you with a question to think about as you continue your work. As this SaaS landscape just keeps expanding, getting even more connected, how can we collectively ensure that integration shifts from being seen as a barrier or a necessary evil into becoming a genuine enabler of innovation and business agility? How do we make integration accelerate growth, not hinder it?
That's a really powerful thought to chew on. How to make integration an engine for innovation. Well, for anyone listening who wants to learn more about SEEBURGER, their integration solutions, maybe check out career opportunities or just get in touch. You can find everything at SEEBURGER.com.
That's SEEBURGER.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me. It was a great discussion.